Arsenal taking on Fulham tomorrow. Not that there's massive amounts in this game, of course, Willis. We know that the league, we know where that's going at the moment. It's going to Anfield. But what's going to be interesting in this game is that Bukayo Saka could be on the bench for Arsenal. Very significant for them ahead of that big game in the Champions League next week against Real Madrid.
Yeah, I think definitely this is the time of the year where, Jet2 Holidays could be sponsoring some of the games because people are thinking about the beach, aren't they? But I do think Man United and Arsenal are in a similar situation. Like, our game against Forest doesn't mean a lot in relation to the league, and your game doesn't. But for Fulham, they've got an outside of chance of Europe. Forest have got a big chance of the Champions League. So, and Arsenal and Man United have got these European games where you can't just go, that's the focus. You need players working towards that, getting into rhythm. So yeah, I think they are both big games tomorrow night, in the sense that the oppositions need it for Europe, and then Arsenal and United need it because they are in Europe and need to start, getting the players. We've got some injured players coming back. You've got some injured players coming back as well. So yeah, interesting. I was going to actually just mention that to you last night. Gyökeres story from Fabrizio Romano and David Ornstein linking into Arsenal. I would love this guy at Man United. He's played the Amorim system. He's got 42 goals in 42 games. He gets assists. I don't know what you're thinking at Arsenal about your striker, but I mean, I've heard stuff about Liam Delap and stuff, and I'm like, God, no. Arsenal need the Gyökeres, the Osimhen. They need the guy who comes in now, and he might flop. Anyone can flop, but you've got to go for that type of striker, because that's what Arsenal are missing.
100%, Mark. When I saw that news last night, with David Ornstein breaking that, I'm like, that is exactly the type of striker I want Arsenal looking for. Of course, they appointed a new sporting director yesterday.
Yeah, I'm impressed with that.
Who's come in? He was at Atletico Madrid, and he's really got an eye for strikers. And it looked to me like Arsenal really interested in, and it still could be, but interested in Sesko.
Yeah, a bit younger than he is.
He's 21 and he's a project, and we don't need a project.
No.
Right? The exams are here now, right? There's no time for a project, right? And I look at Sesko and I think to myself, it reminds me a bit like Rasmus Højlund. That like, good player, good prospect, but do you really want to throw him right in the deep end straight away? Because if he comes in at Arsenal, the fans want goals immediately.
Well, you need the league next year, don't you? It's got to be the league next year, I think.
It's got to go for the league next year. So Gyökeres, 30 goals already this season in the league, 29 goals last season in the league. Even when he was in the Championship, 21 goals. That's exactly the type of player that Arsenal need to be signed. If you can't get, an Isak, which to me, I don't think Newcastle are going to sell Isak this summer.
Be perfect, wouldn't he?
Gyökeres, it makes perfect sense. And I'm seeing that the release clause now could be as low as 50 million. It's an absolute no-brainer.
I just think if you're in the striker market, and it's different for United because we haven't got much money, but it's still not an excuse for me. You find the money. People want strikers. Arsenal want a striker. United want a striker. Chelsea want a striker. You've got Gyökeres, Osimhen are both available, and they're 26. And your only issue is which one you go for. Don't get either. I mean, Arsenal. I mean, I'm a United fan, obviously, but Arsenal have got it's the missing thing. Yeah. It's the missing piece.
It'd be criminal if we didn't. Right, but then I've seen a lot of criminal acts in our transfer market in recent times, right? So I don't even know. But the one thing is, this guy Berta is coming in. He's got a track record of buying good strikers. He bought in players like Luis Suarez. He bought in Griezmann at Atletico. He's likes a striker from what I can see. So
he's a good appointment. He is, very good appointment. I think he's better than Edu. He's better than Edu on paper, and he's very. We've had a bit of dealing with him at United, and he was linked to United, and very confident in what he can do. Backs himself. I think he's a good appointment.
Yeah. Your game against Forest, I mean, that will be a tough one for United, because that's away at Forest, a very, very difficult place to go to. And we see how they've been playing, and they do have a lot to play for. They want to secure those Champions League places.
Yeah, I think obviously the extra time won't have helped them on Saturday. It's a quick turnaround. But I think Man United had a little bit of momentum before the international break. They've had a big break, got a lot of players coming back, a lot of big games coming up. So I would hope to see a bit of progression from United. And then Forest maybe could be in a bit of a Bournemouth mode where they've got to deal with being the favourites. They're the favourites in that game. I think Bournemouths and Forests and Brightons and Fulhams do well when they're the underdog. But the problem is you can't be the underdog forever when you keep winning. So I think Forest are the favourites for this game, and that might play into United. So I think I said a Forest win because you went with a draw. But I think the draw is probably the value bet. I don't see United losing it, funnily enough.
Yeah. A couple other ones that I just want to pick out because we did do the predictions over on your channel, so people you can go and check it over on Vats Football.